Great. Well, welcome everyone. Understanding Transition Age Youth. We're going to be screening a film and having a conversation with Catherine Stroud. My name is Alex. I'm with CARS, and I'm kind of moderating, introducing the session today.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Stroud. I'm a senior researcher at Impact Justice, which is a nonprofit headquartered in Oakland, California, committed to reducing both the size and the scope of the criminal and juvenile justice systems. So that includes improving conditions for those who are currently incarcerated, as well as supporting or improving justice outcomes for individuals who've experienced harm. As for myself, I am a researcher and have worked a lot on projects involving transitional aged youth. I've personally seen the impacts of incarceration on families. I've also seen it specifically with the folks that we're going to talk about today, transitional aged young people. While working at Impact Justice, I've led multiple projects directly related to sort of aimed at understanding how transitional aged youth are currently supported, how they can be better supported, and what ways to intervene before incarceration. So today we're going to be watching two parts of a 4-part film. It's all available on YouTube. So if you want to watch parts 2 and 3, we're going to watch the first and the fourth part, but parts 2 and 3 are online on YouTube for free. Today you're going to hear about barriers that young people face, not just to employment, but prior to incarceration, during incarceration, and post-incarceration. We have some discussion questions aimed at understanding how policies and practices can undermine or support high recidivism rates, and then also hoping to discuss and learn about the importance of having folks with lived experience and what they offer to CBOs, agencies, etc. Next slide, Alex. And an important note, as I said, we are only showing 2 parts of the film, but in these 2 parts, there are heavy topics that we will discuss, including domestic violence, assault, behavioral mental health crises. So there's also imagery that might be particularly activating. Please feel comfortable stepping away or disengaging and taking care of yourself. Also, if you're watching parts 2 and 3, we will not be filming and we will not be showing this part, but there is a part of the film that does feel a little voyeuristic, where we're watching a woman dress in her car. When we previously showed it, we excluded that part of the film, but just a note, if you do choose to see parts 2 and 3, that there are still some challenging and potentially activating images. Next slide, please. Before we watch the film, I wanted to give a little bit of context for those who might not know, or for those who know some but want to know a little bit more about transitional aged youth, and in particular transitional aged youth, how they relate in California. I think transitional aged youth is one of the most flexible definitions. It can apply to young people from the ages of 16 to 25. Some people say it's 16 to 18, some people say 16 to 21. For the purposes of this, we're referring to anyone who meets the legal age of adulthood, typically 18, but depending on county or agencies, that might be 16. But yet, despite reaching the legal age of adulthood, are still developing, they're still growing, their brains are still maturing. This population has the greatest risk of homelessness, mental health, poverty, especially folks who are formerly systems involved. There's a highest recidivism rate for this age cohort when compared to other age cohorts. 70% of transitional aged youth will reincarcerate and likely will be incarcerated again within 1 year. It goes up to 80% within 3 years. So it's a very high risk, high needs population, but there are not a lot of services specifically aimed towards this population at the state level or the county level. It's a very important conversation too, as I'm sure most of you know. The closure of the Division of Juvenile Justice at the state level, it took effect last year, but it closes its doors in June of 2023. This population is predominantly transitional aged youth. 18 to 19-year-olds is the average age. And now counties are really trying to understand what services they have available and what services they need to help meet the needs of this population. Now, we know fundamentally that transitional aged youth are different, despite the fact that we we understand it kind of as a binary. We know that renting a car or renting a hotel room or even running for Congress, like trying to do that under 25 is impossible, or like, you have to pay exorbitant fees. So we understand at some level that this population is different, that a 23-year-old is different than a 27-year-old. Yet the systems we maintain have a fierce binary of childhood and adulthood. In the film, you'll see a young man who just turned 18 speak to this binary. He says, "I'm considered a grown-up now. 2 months ago, I was a juvenile, and now I'm considered a grown-up." And now he's in a system, an adult system, and facing adult relying on adult processes like with other older adults. And we'll talk about this towards the end, but the push, of course, and for most reformers is not to make juvenile services more accessible or even change adult services to be more inclusive. The push is to make a system that's designed by centering the needs of transitional aged youth. Like one example of this is like housing. For a young person who's been in and out of the system, suddenly they're 18 and they're no longer afforded access to the juvenile services or the employment services that they were given when they were younger. They're with adults, or they're expected to have some certain level of independence that they might not have had been given the opportunity to grow. And they go from the very rigid structure to complete freedom or complete independence. And so a lot of counties are trying to meet that need by developing a step-up housing that gives young people an opportunity to learn how to live on their own while still in the confines of being able to make a mistake and learn from it. So now that with that like really brief and quick introduction, what I would like to do is go to the next slide. Before we start, a couple questions to sort of ground us is like thinking through how TAY are portrayed in this film, like who was given access, who are we hearing from, and whose stories are we not hearing from in this context? And then also in thinking through not only how it's portrayed in the film, but also like how do we think about transitional aged youth? How do we see these young people in our own work? And then how might our biases or views shape how we think about them? Next slide, please. And then I really like this thing. If you are sort of feeling activated or anything, pay attention to the room, find some green, feel the surrounding, do some breathing. But again, please step away if you need to, and use the chat box to discuss. All right, Alex, we can screen the films.
No one wants to hire people that get out of jail. Like, I got lucky because my boss, he was willing to give me a chance because I'm young, dude. But if you're like 40 years old, fucking all tatted up, trying to get out of jail, oh, what's up, let me get a job, huh? Nah, it don't work like that, man. You ready to roll? Let's go. Billy Joe. How goes it, Billy Joe? Man. Oh. Been a minute.
Been a minute. Yeah.
How you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. Got a haircut?
Yeah, haircut.
Yeah.
No more long hair.
For now.
For now. Yeah, I'm going it out again.
Yeah. You know, we get stuck holding on to these limiting beliefs that we have, which then puts people in a certain box. A lot of times the label comes first. So it's incarcerated youth. And our big thing is we have to change the narrative and we have to put the people first. So it's youth that are incarcerated, right? It's always the person first before the label. And so we're really about like opening up the box and not putting any sort of label on anyone.
So my name is Nathanael Matanick. I'm 20 years old from Santa Maria, California. A little bit about myself. I have three sisters, one brother, 2 dogs, a goldfish named Georgie, and yeah, I have a mom, a dad, and Yeah, man, I almost forgot. I have a 13-month-old son too, named Isaiah. Cutest little man ever.
So talk to us about little Nathan, that 12-year-old boy.
Around 12 years old, I started getting into trouble. I started hanging out with gang members, and eventually, when I was 15, I actually became a gang member myself. I spent a lot of time in juvenile hall. I made a lot of bad decisions. I went to boys camp until I met you, and when I went from juvenile probation to adult probation, I started doing good and stuff. Ever since I had my son, I was doing good. And it's hard, man, being fucking 19 years old. My bad, I cussed. It's hard. It's hard being 19 years old and having a little baby son, but you know, man, it's so cool. Like I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like it's like being a father, definitely the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Most of the people that are incarcerated here don't believe that they deserve any better. They've messed up their whole lives. They don't deserve to be happy. They don't deserve to have a good life. They don't even know what steps to take to get there. Okay, so my name is Deirdre Smith. I'm the Inmate Services Manager at Santa Barbara County Jail. If we look at the whole picture and the holistic view of our inmates and about trauma and how does that affect the decisions that people make and the way people feel about themselves and are they worth anything else? And so many of these people here never had a chance, or their parents abused them, and the people that were supposed to protect them hurt them more than anybody in the whole entire world could have possibly hurt
99.
them.
Yeah, it feels good out here.
It's nice, huh?
Yeah.
A little fresh air.
Yeah. It's my first time here.
Oh, it's your first time?
Yeah, they brought me from the juvenile hall.
Oh, okay.
No, I was institutionalized like my whole life, so
Okay.
I didn't really get to go to high school.
Yeah. Well, we'll make this your last time here.
Yeah, hopefully, huh?
No, hopefully you will. You're young.
I know I just turned 18.
You got a lot of years. Get back to school, a lot of opportunities. Coming around. Move to the right.
Is it right?
If I just take a woman and I give her all of the treatment that we have here, and she goes right back to a traumatic home environment or bad relationship or whatever it was, she's gonna come right back here. So I have to teach her how she can get past that trauma and survive that and move on so that she can get past the substance abuse and the abusive relationships and all of those things, and so that she can feel worthy of being happy and successful.
Hey, Billy Joe. How you doing, ma'am?
Good, how are you?
Good. Just making it through it.
Yes, so good to see you.
Christian Gonzalez. Nice to meet you. Oh, hello. My name's Christian. Nice to meet you, man.
I'm Christina.
Nice to meet you. All right, nice to meet you, Christian.
When you get a juvenile that comes into the juvenile justice system at age 12, you already know that that child has probably had 12 years of trauma.
I'm considered a grown-up now. 2 months ago, I was a juvenile, and now I'm considered a grown-up. I knew one day I was gonna be here. I knew one day I was gonna end up in prison. There's only like 3 paths that I had to pick from, you know, and
What are those paths?
you know, it's either like I'm gonna be a drug addict, I'm gonna die, or I'm just gonna be locked up in prison. Like growing up with my mom and stuff, like a bumpy road, you know. She was a good mother, don't get me wrong, you know, she just was going through a lot of pain. So I had to grow up to be like an adult in a way, take care of my brothers and sisters at 10 years old. Like as time passed, I saw my mom get arrested, and then I got taken away, which I went into the foster unit. But my whole life, I just thought, you know, oh, I just miss my mom, but it was really trauma, you know, because I saw my mom get arrested, and it wasn't like an arrest. It was like pull, like a resist, and I saw my mom go away, and I was attached to her. And once that happened, I was just, you know, trying to find her everywhere I could, but I was finding her the wrong way because she got locked up, and then I was like, oh, she's probably there, you know, but I was a juvenile. And I got locked up at 12, and then I was just institutionalized my whole life, and in and out, drugs, and then participating in the lifestyle that I'm in, you know.
I was always going back and forth from boys camp to juvenile hall for fighting. I think if we had like more community, like program, like Freedom for Youth, if we had more communities like that back when I was young, I feel like it would have made a difference. I feel like I would have done better. But you know, I can't blame my actions on any other person because I'm the one, you know, I'm the one who did this. I'm the reason why I'm sitting here right now. You know what I'm saying, Billy Joe?
What I know about people that are going to the boys camp is that they're incredible leaders and they have all these amazing talents and gifts that maybe didn't fit the norm of their school experience. We meet them where they're at, wherever that is. And so if they are participating in some gang activity, we acknowledge that some of that is probably because they want to belong.
But you know, sometimes there, like, you just feel like there's something missing, you know? And I think that I searched for that with my friends, that I found that love within my, like, a group of friends. And that's how I got rabbled into it.
So we take the good parts, right? And we're like, hey, you've got these great leadership abilities because maybe you're in a gang, and maybe we can take those leadership abilities and apply them into a different part of your life. Flipping all these bias and all these conceptions that we have about people and their dysfunctional behavior.
Yeah, but like the older kids, the ones that are actually getting into trouble out there, running the streets, running around with guns, like there's like no safe haven for them, except for juvenile hall and boys camp. That's like the safest place as you could get. It's not good.
Growing up, it was really like, you know, how am I gonna survive today? You know, how am I gonna eat? Where am I gonna sleep? You know, am I gonna survive these streets? Yes, right now I'm locked up, obviously, you know, but I have a plan, you know. Well, my main goal was, all right, I'm gonna graduate high school, and I knew I was gonna go to county, because once you turn 18, they're gonna send you straight to county. I got here and I was nervous. I was like, damn, I've never been here before. But the first thing I thought was like, oh, you know, there's classes here, you know, because I knew that, all right, there's classes here. Maybe I could do something to keep my mind out of the negative and work on my GED so I could get milestones too, you know? I was really focused on graduating. And I knew I deserved it because I worked hard. I worked really hard to get there. And when I got there, I was like, damn, you know, I've accomplished something. And the staff, you know, probation, they acknowledged it and they put it out there like, this kid right here worked it, you know, worked his butt off to get here, you know, like, he's gonna get this graduation. Like, I had all my family there. Like, it was the best thing ever. Like, it was better than anything that's ever happened to me. Like, I felt like I was the man. I was like, yeah, like, I graduated, you know? Like, I ain't gotta worry about that. I was like, but right away I thought, so what's next, you know? That's what's next. I'm gonna graduate college, so, you know.
Growing up is like, well, I can never be a lawyer. Never known a brown person, let alone someone in my family or someone that I know is a lawyer. At one time, I was the highest paid ward in the state of California, making $2.50, and I ended up saving $5,000 in cash. And I was afraid that they were gonna take that money away from me, so I started sending them in quarters to my mom and telling her, like, here, like, just remember this, that I have this money when I come home. I did anything, like, when it was like to picking up trash to, you know, welding. Like, I did anything, like, at a construction job that I had while incarcerated, because I knew that I would need funds outside. I was 15 when I went in, and I was 19 when I came home, going on to 20 because my birthday. Getting a job was really hard. I've always been transparent about my past involvement with the criminal legal system, because I think that defines who I am today. As I go through law school and still having to explain myself of like what I did in my past does not define how I could be an attorney. For some law school applications, a person will not look at me as their equal, but I'll work my way up to have them look at me as their equal. Being an attorney, it's something that I've always dreamed of, and no one's ever in my family is an attorney or has gotten to getting even a bachelor's degree or an associate's, and I was the first one to do that. What I want to give like my daughter is more than what I was given. I want her to be able to grow up in a world where she could be like, yeah, I could be an attorney, I could be a doctor, I could be this. Because there's people like this that look like me. How could I just be the father that I didn't have growing up in my life?
As a kid growing up, man, I had the same thing too, man. Like, my mom wasn't coming to my baseball games. Like, it sucked. I was like, what the fuck? Like, my bad, like, language, but I'll probably be authentic with you. Is like, where's my mom coming out when, like, I'm not stealing second base, but she's there when I'm stealing a Harry Potter movie, you know?
Yeah, you know, I can relate to what you're saying with the baseball game, because my goal was to be like a baseball player, football player, but I threw that away because, you know, I was like, oh, you know, like, no one cares about me, you know? But what I want, like, honestly, what I want is just a chance, you know? Just a chance to show people that, you know, like, even though I'm in this lifestyle, it doesn't mean that I'm not capable of things, you know? Like, I'm tired of being thrown in the trash can, you know? Like, I'm gonna pick myself up, you know?
We're finally at a place collectively where we know enough about the impact of trauma that we can look at youth who are involved in either the child welfare system, the juvenile probation system, who've experienced homelessness, who've had sort of the system involvement, that they are the same kids. And I think we say that, you know, we've recognized from the research that these are the same kids. Oftentimes they have the same challenges at home. They've had the same struggles in school. They've had the same traumatic experiences and events, and they're just coming in through different doors. We say this all the time, right? We say we can't treat these kids differently. We can't say that, you know, this child is in foster care because of no fault of their own, but this youth who is in juvenile probation is a bad kid.
You got involved in all of this pretty young.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you would say to teachers to look out for so that they can just be more aware? Like, did you stop going to school, or, you know, would it have made a difference if someone paid a little bit more attention to you in elementary school, or was it junior high, or when did the streets become more desirable than school and sports?
To keep it 100, you know, I'm not gonna lie, like, you know, like, I grew a connection with what I'm involved in. Like, I grew a connection, and there's like, there's no going back for me, you know, because I'm in this lifestyle, I'm deep, you know, but to be honest, if I wasn't in here, I think I would have been out and done something more stupid, or I probably would be dead right now. To keep it real, I'd probably be dead right now.
My boy Oscar, I love you, man. Rest in peace. Boy Rebel, rest in peace. Just see, me and Oscar, we actually we got arrested together for stealing chicken in Arizona's from the local Albertsons, and he ended up getting released, and then I ended up getting sent to boys camp for that, and then he was only back into it for about 2 months. And then one night, July 27th, made a bad decision. Went out, did things he shouldn't have. Lost his life. So it was a big wake-up call, because I never knew that someone so close could just leave like that instantly. Like, you don't even get a chance to say goodbye. It's just like that. And it hurts. My son, I don't want him to grow up and be a gang member. I want him to experience things that I never got to experience. You know, I want to give him a better life because that's what it's all about. That's what my parents did for me. They sacrificed so I could live better, and I did. So now I got to sacrifice for him.
This is my guy right here. He's helped me pull chicks before. Yeah, we pulled some chicks on before we met mamas.
Oh, you dirty ass dog. You ever just look at someone and you're like, man, like I just want to hit that dude. Like, I mean, that's not blowing up on people and stuff. I've been doing pretty good at that. So I've been doing pretty better. I mean, it probably has something to do with me being a child and something happening to me, you know, like all that shit, like with the doctors, you know, oh, he experienced something, that's why that's probably what it is. They're probably right, you know. I mean, just being home, dude, being with my son. I used to miss waking up, like him waking up and looking at me like, oh, you're up, you know? When I got out of jail, I went in the room and I was chilling and I was looking at the turtle and I was just like tripping out, like, man, because he's locked up in a little cage, dude, a little freaking glass box, dude. Definitely has mental issues, that turtle. Like, definitely hasn't been around any other turtles in years. Like, he's just alone, man. And like, it's kind of how I felt, just like alone, secluded, dude. Like, that shit sucks, man. It kind of gives me like an insight on like animals caged up and shit. Like, I'm not really for that. Like the zoo, not really a fan of the zoo. I think that shit's inhumane, dude, how they do those animals. It's fucked up. It's literally just a criminology school. Put a bunch of criminals together, swapping ideas and shit, getting high when they have drugs, and fucking, they all just go out and try it. Like, oh, I'm gonna go try this guy's idea. I could probably do it better than him, you know? And fucking, I mean, slight programs to help rehabilitate you, to change your thinking, but not much, man. They really don't got much. They really don't have shit there. You literally just go and chill all day and just kick it.
What I was really impressed by hearing is you said that your next goal is to graduate from college.
Yeah.
So I know that you face unique barriers to get to that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something I can do in terms of the program side, in terms of the sheriff's side, that could help you overcome those barriers so that when you walk out those doors, you're better prepared to tackle those barriers?
I don't really know, because I don't know how, like, what I can ask for, you know, because I'm not really, like, I don't know what's there for me. Like, if, like, maybe if you guys, like, tell me what could be there for me, then.
I was informally incarcerated too, and when I was here in the jail, and they used to have a thing called sheriff's parole, and I told them I wanted to go to college, and they said, you're never going to go to college because you have a felony on your record. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to show you that that's not true. And I have a master's degree now, so I can tell you that you can come from here and you can get a bachelor's and you can go further. Even when I was here at county jail, I tried to get out on what was called sheriff's parole, and I told them that my game plan was to go to college. And a couple of white ladies on the panel said, you're never going to go to college, you have a felony on your record, you're never going to do anything. Kind of a big deal to get hired on here working with the sheriff's office. The sheriff came and gave a speech at one of our DRC graduations, and he talked about redemption. He was talking to our parolees that were graduating from that program. And I listened to him talk, and I was like, that's pretty profound when he was talking about how everybody deserves a second chance. Well, having a felon and working for law enforcement don't really mesh very well. And he understood that because of my lived experience, I would be an asset. And so he was willing to waive the requirement that said that they couldn't hire felons, and he passed my background. I appreciate you saying you don't know what to ask for, because that tells me that I need to do some work.
Thank you, ma'am.
Being the inmate services manager, I'm in charge of the alcohol and drug treatment program. I'm in charge of the education programs. I'm in charge of all of the services that the inmates receive.
I didn't care, you know, honestly. Like, I was being selfish because there's other people that do care about me being locked up.
People, they come here in crisis, and then we throw them into a holding tank and we traumatize them further. And then we remove them from their children, which traumatizes them further. And then we keep them away from their children, and then they don't know if their children are safe or if their children are being victimized while they're gone, and who's protecting their children. And I'm speaking more about the women because that's just, I'm a woman, and I was incarcerated here with women, so I get that. So the whole idea of incarceration and not understanding the entire person is a challenge, and it does re-traumatize them. And I don't know that there's an answer to that right now, because that's a system-wide. That's not just here, that's with the DA, that's with the public defender, it's this huge thing.
You know, behind my smile, you know, there's still a lot of pain, but I can't let that get to me, you know. I don't know why, I just have a soft heart, like, you know, and I really care about what people, you know, go through, because I want to help people that have been through, you know, my shoes. Cause
how come probation officers get more of like why people do what they do?
Teachers.
Yeah, teachers too. Like your teachers inside there. Like, I know that like in juvenile hall, like if you say something, you get kicked out. Like, and that's like taken away from your school, and already you're taken away from a setting. Like, how could these people get like, well, I know you could cuss at me all you want, but I still want you to be in this room because I'm gonna still teach that math problem, and I want you to, at the end of the day, be in here rather than be kicked.
I've seen a lot of staff that used to treat me like crap grow up into like one of my favorite staff because they got close to me, and then they'll talk to me, and then people would think, oh, we need this, we need that, you know, like, no, like, just support and like showing that you're caring, like, it goes a long way. At least for me, it went a long way.
You know how we all, like, people all the time is like, man, well, if I had your job, I would have do this. If you had that job title, what would you do?
I just want to send a message to the public defenders, you know, like, yeah, you guys, you know, you guys don't know us, you know, but it's someone's life, you know. It's not just, you know, it's not like a piece of trash. It's someone's life that you're dealing with, you know. And the DAs, you know, like, I understand it's their job to put, you know, to go against us, but like the DAs don't even look at me. They don't even look at me, and if anything, the most they'll do is point at you. That's it.
A lot of public defenders, a lot of DAs, they are overworked and stuff, but still, that's no excuse. I mean, it's our lives that they're messing with, our lives.
We need people like you to help us do our work better. There's a lot of youth within our community and in our nation that are really asking for help, but in ways that cause harm or pain to others. Because hurt people hurt people.
When I get out, I'm gonna have my little family right there. So that's like my concrete right there, like my foundation. So that's like I already have a step in the right direction. People that want me to do good. My mom's gonna be so happy right now.
You just keep showing up and you keep being authentic and real with them and focusing on what they're good at, because they have so many gifts and so many talents, and sometimes they don't see it. And so you help them see it. And we can hold up a mirror and we can show them all the amazing parts of themselves. And we can say, look how wonderful you are, and look how awesome you are. And it's uncomfortable for them, you know, it can be. And so we just keep holding up the mirror and reminding them that they're so much better than their circumstances. You know, we always say like, hey, where you start out is not where you have to end up.
Like, ask for help. That's the thing. Search for opportunities. We are not the worst deed that we've done in our lives. Youth that commit serious crimes can change. They're just like everyone else. I'm just like everyone else. I just want an opportunity to do what I can, and I want to be able to reach my goals and my dreams, and I want to be looked at as that we're good and not bad, and we could be good.
You can't change nothing overnight. You have to stay humble, and you have to continuously have faith. Those was like my main 3 things that like kept me going. And you don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to hold that wall up. You don't gotta be Superwoman or Superman. You know, you could be whoever you want to be. You could be weak. You could sit back and cry. Slowly but surely, I know I was gonna make a difference. You know, I knew that something was gonna start to change.
Stand up for yourself. If no one else stands up for you, you know what? You stand up for you and just use your voice and say, hey, someone's hurting me. I don't want to go home. We have that power.
For like younger youth who are still in the system, or even for those who have been adopted, I mean, I live by a very hard and fast rule, is that it doesn't matter who gives birth to you, it doesn't matter who raises you, it doesn't matter who pays for you. The only thing that matters is someone who loves you unconditionally and gives you life and gives you hope and gives you support and care.
You know, I'm still smiling, I'm still here, and I'm still trying to keep my head high, and I'm gonna do everything I can to get home. And even though I'm here right now, I'm still trying my best to do good, and I'm still gonna do something with my life, and I'm ready to start my life and I'm ready to move on, and I'm pretty sure there's people out there that want to start their life too. As long as you have a strong heart, you're gonna do it, you know? You know, people out there, you guys could do it too, you know? It's never too late. You could be 30 years old and it's never too late. You still could do it, you know? So that's all I gotta say, you know, that you guys could do it. So yeah.
Keep asking for help, man. I know it gets hard, like, in here, like, always keep your head up, man. Always keep your heart open.
IRC Control 2499, bus gate, please.
Hey, they're running.
See that?
I feel like I'm getting out.
So you here? You fighting a case?
Yeah. We'll be here for a little while.
You looking alive? You looking alive. Corporal, one returning.
Come on now, bring me in now. So my boy. All right, thank you. Come on now. Yeah, man. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
Like everyone grows up different, you know? It's really what it is. And I think, I don't know, people, they do that judge the book by the cover thing, you know? Without ever, even I do it, I'm not gonna lie, I judge people all the time. Like, no one wants to hire people that get out of jail. Like, I got lucky because my boss, he was willing to give me a chance because I'm young. Yeah, man, you just got the nice hills and stuff. I mean, it's cool to come out here and just chill. I mean, at first it's hard. Like, that's like, I think that, like, the first month is probably the hardest because you're trying to find stability, you know? Like, when I got my job the day after my birthday, and that was like a couple weeks after I got released, and it helped because it helped me occupy my time. It helped me like stay a little bit financially stable. But I mean, it's just tough, like the first month. I mean, I want to go back to school too, probably do something, but I'm not sure what yet. Or like once I finish group, it's either start school now and then try to help me financially too, because I could get grants and stuff and like FAFSA. But once I get off group, I'm probably gonna get a second job or something, or let my girl get a job and watch our son. So, you know, she gets a little bit of freedom, a little bit of free time, you know. But that's really it. I mean, there's been times where I've come and this thing's just all dirty and stuff and no flowers, and it's sad. That shit sucks, man. To bring a child in the world and then to lose him, that's my main fear. He's the one thing that keeps me like really stable. Like the one thing. I don't want to be a bad role model for my son. I want to be a good one, and I want him to look up to me. You know, I want him to model himself after me. Only the good things that I do, though. You know, not the past life, but the Nate now.
Yeah, I know we have about 10 minutes left for some questions and some discussion, and I appreciate folks who've added some comments in the chat box. And I definitely agree, Rose, like what you were saying. There is like untreated trauma in a lot of these young people. They come in with a lot of stuff that they dealt with, a lot of like barriers and challenges that they've had, and we do need to do more to provide more systems and support in that need. And then also definitely Shelley with the lived experience, and Deidre talking from an experience like she's been there, she literally had been there, and how much different that is observed. And like credible messengers are definitely something I think most folks understand the importance of now too. But I'm curious what stood out for you all, if anyone has anything that stood out for them a lot. Is there anything from the film that you want to uplift or anything that you will be taking with you? I'm especially curious for folks, if there's any folks who are working with or have previously worked with young people. How do your systems support these young people? How how do, or like what resources do you have and what resources do you need? Yeah, Stacy, I really want to uplift that comment too. Yeah, no matter what, these young people still have plans and still have goals for their lives and still want to do all the things that all of us wanted to do when we were that age as well. And that definitely, I really like the fourth part of the film and that getting to shine through. Yeah, employment, housing needs, right? Housing, being unhoused has like one of the single most important indicators of whether or not someone will return or will recidivate, will return to being incarcerated. And a lot of times young people aren't given access, like these young people in particular, given their age, are given access to a different system. And mentoring programs, another big indicator. I think the single most important indicator of justice involvement is if a young person has one trusted adult relationship, their risk of being justice involved decreases dramatically. So mentoring programs definitely, especially credible messengers, people who look like them, people who are from their communities, also important. We also, and it's talked a little briefly in the film in the statistics, there was mention of Latinx youth are about 2.5 times more likely, and Black youth are 5 times more likely to be detained compared to white youth. I mean, we know the system disproportionately impacts folks of color, particularly Black and Brown folks. Knowing this statistic and knowing what we know and like everything around, what policies or practices does your agency or utilize that might contribute to or undermine the statistic? Sort of tied to that, another labeled another statistic they had thrown up or statement was adolescents who engage in delinquent behavior are often labeled problem children or beyond redemption, yet they can be supported to develop pro-social behaviors and successful outcomes. Related to race and ethnicity, we also know that like when a young person of color, when an 18-year-old African-American man or young man comes forward, DAs, prosecutors, judges often already assume things about the individual compared to like a white young female, that the young Black man might be considered less remorseful or older or whatnot compared to young white women or even others. And is there any policy or practice in your agency or anything? Yeah, Stacy, definitely. No one is beyond redemption, and especially racism and sexism play a lot in who we let be kids. There's a program in a county we worked with recently in which they saw a huge reduction in probation violations for transitional aged youth. And really nothing about the program could speak to it. It was a mentality shift. It was a shift in the county of folks identifying this behavior of 18 to 25-year-olds, as like adolescent behavior. Like delinquency is part of growing up. Delinquency is part of being a kid, and who we afford that like childhood to, the length of that childhood depends a lot on the race and their sex. So yeah, they are very real and very present, definitely. I want to appreciate folks chatting and discussing in the chat about the film and the conversation.